It was Halloween, and the flight had suffered a huge delay for whatever reason, which led to most of the passengers being reseated on other flights, leaving only a handful of us. By us, I mean those unlucky enough not to have been reseated or unable to afford a hotel, stuck at the airport. Despite the long wait, I actually preferred sharing the cabin with fewer passengers, something usually only possible in first class. I enjoyed the luxury of choosing my seat once I boarded the flight. While most passengers decided to sit at the far back section of the plane, I chose a quiet corner seat in the front, where only a few other passengers were seated closely together, appearing to know each other. The flight was originally scheduled for daytime, but the delay resulted in an overnight journey. It wasn't a big deal, but I missed seeing the spectacular view from the window, which eventually led me to focus on the cabin's interior. Despite planes often appearing larger on the inside, the enclosed space made me slightly uncomfortable, creating a persistent need for distraction, like reading a book or listening to music. Just as I was about to pull out my phone, a flight attendant approached and asked if I wouldn't mind sitting with the other passengers. Confused, I agreed, figuring there must be a good reason for it, though I later regretted not asking why. Shortly after changing seats and settling in, the cabin plunged into an eerie silence. I might not have thought much of it, had it not been for the conversations between the other passengers that quickly faded into frightened whispers of shock and disbelief. Have you ever felt that strange sensation, when the atmosphere instantly becomes heavy with sorrow, making it feel like you'll never be cheerful again? That's exactly what it felt like. Curious, I turned to see what had caused such distress, and I couldn't quite believe my eyes. The notion of sharing a small cabin with a dead person for the remainder of the flight was deeply unsettling. I knew the flight staff was likely following protocol, but my stomach churned at this morbid turn of events. Feeling overwhelmed, I decided to head to the restroom. I took a moment to compose myself, telling myself to get a grip. After all, I wasn't the only passenger on the plane. After a few minutes of steady breathing and calming down, a sudden loud thud shook the restroom door. My heart pounded as the banging abruptly stopped, leaving only the sound of my elevated breathing. Strangely, I felt less safe alone in the restroom than I did outside with the other passengers. After waiting a few minutes, I cautiously opened the door, peering through the gap to check for any sign of danger. Seeing nothing unusual, I prepared to return to my seat when the same flight attendant from before suddenly appeared, almost hitting me with the service trolley. She looked as if she had just finished serving fresh beverages to some of the passengers, but what struck me as odd was how oblivious she seemed to the loud banging that had happened just moments earlier. She remained completely silent, and there was something unsettling about the way she looked at me, a knowing stare, the kind you give someone when you suspect they're onto you. I quickly broke eye contact as she continued down the aisle, serving drinks as if nothing had happened. I hurried back to my seat, almost forgetting about the corpse seated in the corner behind me. I still couldn't believe I had walked right past it without noticing. Maybe I had been too distracted, but what disturbed me more was that none of the other passengers seemed to have heard the banging on the restroom door. Was it not as loud as I remembered? Was it just a prank? It was Halloween, after all. At least I had a spooky Halloween tale to share with my young nephews back home, though not the entire truth of what really happened on board that flight. At least, not until now.